Hi, Scorpio. Welcome to your November Tarotscope. And happy birthday to all of you having birthdays in November. So, of course, the first 2/3 of November is Scorpio season, and then we will be rolling over into Sagittarius season. So, I have a card for you, and your card is the Nine of Cups reversed. So this is the way that he looks the right way up. So we have this woman here. She's kind of sitting down with these robes, and she's got, looks like a scroll in her hand there. Up above here, we have these faces, kind of like this elderly man and woman in profile there. And then we have all these cups around, as well as a big black vase over her head, and it came out upside down like that. Okay? So we're going to see what the Nine of Cups has to say for you this month, okay? Okay, Nine of Cups. Emotional merry-go-round. What moves you emotionally? Nine Cups represents strong feelings and manifold passions. The cylinder-like vase floating above the head of the central figure symbolizes substantial spiritual capacity as well as your desire to control all emotions. It might also indicate the attitude you adopt when something doesn't work out exactly as planned, when everything has gone down the drain. Are you playing a game of all or nothing? The two faces representing grandfather and grandmother show the influence of two strong superegos. Foreign or your own higher demands keep you from living your own life, despite the fact that you have very definite ideas regarding your own happiness. Have the courage to make a difference. Don't let embarrassments hold you back, nor be unduly fascinated by things strange and exotic. Define your long-term goals. Explore your life dreams. This is the meaning of the picture, tablet, mirror, or book in the right hand of the central figure. The challenge is to reshape your own life. Learn from your own experiences and define your own standards. Find out what kind of support you can muster and try to distinguish between needs that can be ignored and those you should take into consideration. This way, you will protect your great emotional store. Practical advice. Learn to go with the flow and to swim against the current if necessary. Write yourself a letter of intent stating your goals for the next 9 weeks. Write down 9 important desires or fears. Establish specific goals for your personal growth and well-being. Okay, Scorpio. So this one feels already fairly scorpionic. This feeling of lots of emotions, this kind of merry-go-round, big cups overflowing with emotions, and the sense of this desire to control emotions. As well as perhaps this like, oh, how do you behave when things don't really work out as planned? Do you feel really resentful? Do you feel really defeated right away? Like, do you end up just kind of dousing yourself in all of those emotions when things aren't exactly going as planned? Are you living in that kind of black and white, on or off, all or nothing kind of game? And is that in relation to these kind of superegos here? So whether these are ancestral, whether these are family expectations, kinds of things your parents have told you, or culture, just these kind of like, you know, that sense of the shoulder angel or devil, or like those voices over your head that are like telling you what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and that's kind of guiding a lot of your emotional reactions to things. Is, oh, you should feel this way, oh, you should feel ashamed of that, oh, you shouldn't have done that. So that, you know, you're kind of then having this murkiness about not really being sure what your own feeling or reaction to something is, because there's immediately these judgments coming in from some part of your past or your culture or your family or whatever it is, or even yourself, these stories that you've told yourself that jumps in and then muddies things up so you can't really even be clear what you feel about things. So there's this kind of like wanting to, or this suggestion that you should try to hone in and center yourself into what your true emotional experience is, what you actually feel and desire and fear, what are yours, not what are maybe inherited by other people, or not what kind of other people have parroted for you. Is try to really connect without those, just go away, like, I'm sorry that that's what your story is, or that's, oh yeah, maybe that's been your past experience of like, oh, I used to think that way and I'm trying to be a different way now, that you get to make that choice. So this feels very fitting for Scorpio season, because Scorpio season is all about bringing out that which has been pressed down or repressed or is really taboo, what you've been told not to look at, what you shouldn't do, because we just don't do things that way, you know, not really the sense of explanation, just whoa, we just don't look at that, and bringing it up and throwing it in our faces and saying, you got to deal with it, because it's just festering in here and it's causing this undue pressure. We're going to bring it up and deal with it. So when that sort of thing happens, that probably sets off a lot of these super ego or over the shoulder kind of judgments that you get to navigate, you get to sort through, and you get to make a decision for yourself how you feel about it. Maybe what's going to be coming up is a lot of those voices. Maybe feeling like you've done this work before, but things come around in cycles and spirals that it might feel like, oh, you may have been able to banish those voices for a while, but as things come up, maybe they're still there. Maybe they're tucked into what has been repressed or what's been trauma from the past, and the voices start coming at you again and feeling like, oh, I really thought I had stopped living that way. I really thought that I had gotten over that sort of intergenerational issue. I really thought I'd kind of dealt with that cultural baggage. And you know what? You maybe did for that level, and maybe you just get to adventure with it and deal with it again. So if things have coming up that you felt like you've dealt with already, it's just a new level, a new layer, a new cycle, and a new chance to get more growth and healing from it. It doesn't mean that you didn't do it right last time. It's you did it to the capacity you had, and now you have a different capacity and you get to try again. So there is, in addition to that, there's this whole kind of suggestion here of wanting to, one of the ways that you're going to be able to center into yourself is to really get clear about what your desires and your fears are. Both of those are buzzwords for Scorpio for sure. Desire and fear, very Scorpionic, and those are going to be what really gives you the emotional intensity that is going to drive you towards your goals. So this card is really suggesting writing down that letter of intent, getting some goals, tangible goals, not just oh, I feel like in general I'd like this, but okay, how? What if you have these desires and you have these fears, maybe you write them down. What's a goal to get towards that desire? What's a goal to help you manage that fear or diminish that trigger? Something tangible you can do so that you can actually know if you've done it. You can hold yourself accountable. You can write it a list. You can tell a friend that that's what you're working on. You can involve community rather than the kind of, it's really hard for us to succeed on vague notions, and it's much easier to get clear on or to succeed with defined goals. So that's what this card is really suggesting. And so I'm sort of feeling like this month, if we're this first 2/3 of November, which is very Scorpio season of all of this coming up, all these emotions, it's going to be, maybe don't necessarily have to dive right into the goals at that point. This is more feeling it, noticing it, hearing what those super egos might have to say for you, noticing how your emotions are coming up, regulating yourself, because it can be quite triggering as these things come up and you don't want to be either explosive or putting into a flight or freeze mode. So just navigate and be like, interesting, all of this is coming up. How fascinating. Be curious. And then when we get to Sagittarius season, that's when we get to shine this big kind of firelight of truth and say, okay, what is the truth of all of this? What do I believe about this? Sagittarius is big on belief systems as well. So it's maybe then when that'll be a little bit of a better time to start to do that kind of goal setting, because Sagittarius has that kind of insight light of truth, and not just truth, but how things connect in the big picture. Sagittarius isn't a tunnel vision little focus. It's okay, what's the large expansion? What's the big truth? How does this affect us all? How does this affect the long term and the distant, not just the close? So that is going to be a kind of a more positive light to be looking at these goals and say, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is kind of my suggestion. So, and this is your birthday season anyway, so this is a great thing to be doing at the turn of the year, and for you to be focusing, okay, what's come up for this? Not just thinking of in this month of what's coming up. You can be looking, kind of doing a Scorpionic review over your whole last year of what are the things that came up, what were the times, and what were the messages that I kind of got from my super egos, whether they were positive or negative, telling me what to do. How do I feel about it of this whole last year? And then you can be setting these goals not just for those kind of 9 weeks as the card numerically suggested, but then for this next year of your living and your life as well. It'll really kind of set you up in a really positive way. So that's what I would suggest for you this November with this card. And if you are wanting some little extra support for November, there are quite a few transits happening this month, and as well another couple retrogrades, and a bunch of eclipses. So there's lots going on this month. So I'd highly recommend you check out the Scorpio season forecast. The Pay What You Can workshop is up and available on my YouTube channel and my website. Do check that out, and I appreciate all of your generous donations as well. Helps me keep making this content for you. So other than that, happy birthday, best of luck this November, and I will see you next month, Scorpio.